Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. This is ExtraTyne. As ever, I'm joined by my co-host Laura.
Hello.
How's it going? You all right? Had a week away. I haven't spoke to you. Well, I have.
Feels like ages. I know.
Yeah, it does. Feels like a long time. And we've borrowed the lads from the other programs this week. We've got Chris. How's it going, Chris?
I'm not bad. I'm going to say thanks for having us, but like it's literally this is what I do.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting us to your own channel.
We're also joined by Matty from Beyond the Lines. Matty, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for inviting me to Chris's channel.
Thanks for joining us, guys. So we've got quite a lot to catch up on because, as I say, we haven't been here for 2 weeks. But let's start with Saturday. It was Saturday. All the days blend into one. It was Saturday. We drew 1-1 on Saturday, which I think is probably more than we could have hoped for. I know it's more than what I hoped for. Laura, I'm going to come to you first. How did you feel about the game? Because I tried to stay off Twitter at the weekend, but a quick glance over the timeline after the game showed that the fans were pretty split 50-50, I would say. I think half thought we played really well and were quite happy with the performance, and the other half were same shit, different game. Laura, how did you feel about it?
I thought first half was quite decent. The only thing is the end product was just so poor. We had loads of chances. We had that Hayden header, which I think he could have done better. Miggy hit the post. Joe Linton's shot was saved. We had a goal disallowed. We had lots of chances and I think we played really well. But again, just the end product was really poor. But like you say, by the end of the game, I think it was massively overshadowed by the whole subs thing. So I think people forgot about all the chances and the positives because it got totally overshadowed by the negatives.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in that camp as well. Like thinking back to the game, there's actually not that much that I can really remember or pick out because all that comes into my head is like the Carragher analysis of the communication for the equalizer, the injuries and stuff. Chris, how did you feel about the game on Saturday? Is there much you can remember?
So we did the live watch along. So no. We didn't have quite a few drinks when we doing the live watch along. But like Laura's just said there, that we did start off well. It's been a common trend over the last handful of games where we do perform okay. I wouldn't give them too much credit because I was listening to a podcast earlier on that said that it's like getting punched in the face repeatedly. Then all of a sudden you stop getting punched in the face, and this is literally what's happening right now. It's nothing to shout from the rooftops. Performances have been better, of course they have, but it's that second half and how the likes of the performances just seem to drop. I'm not sure if it's us dropping the performances or if it's the opposition that's basically saying we've sussed these out. We'll take the game to them. But of course, there's improvements. But yeah, like I said, nothing to shout from the rooftops.
Yeah, Matty, with what Chris has just said, that we seem to drop off in the second half. Do you think that that's maybe a fitness issue? Because it seems to me that there's not many men on the pitch who can last a full 90 minutes.
I don't know, really. It is a common trait in our games where even if we do play well, we just can't keep it up for 90 minutes. We seem to, it feels like every game recently, it hasn't been every game, but we've took the lead in a few games and not comfortably saw it out. And I feel like the only way we're going to ever see our games is if we go 2-0 up, and we saw what happens against Southampton when we go 3-1 up, and loads of things happen there. And I don't know, it's all just very Newcastle United, isn't it? We go 1-up, we're playing okay, and then even on the back of a horrible run of form, you're playing well, but it's just cut short with really bad injuries, indecision, unorganisation, missed chances. So as much as it might have been an okay point in some people's eyes, it was just deflating the circumstances when it came to full time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you've just said there, we'll touch on the injuries. I don't want to. We will at the end. We'll touch on we'll look ahead. So don't really want to touch on it too much. But Laura, the injuries. I mean, to lose Miggy and to lose St. Maximin in one game when we've already got Callum Wilson sidelined for the next however long. Do you think that that's going to possibly be the difference between us playing Premier League football next season or playing Championship football?
Yes, I do. But I also just think, it's giving them an excuse, because I don't think we weren't exactly safe before that anyway. And the pressure was on massively anyway. And then because of that, in my eyes, it's just like, oh, well, there you go. There's your excuse then. There's nothing they can do now, because they haven't got the players, we haven't got the depth in the squad. So they've got the perfect excuse when things don't go our way.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go. What are we on now? It's like 2 wins in 17, I think. Correct? Is that right? Yeah, two wins in 17. I mean, that's not good enough as it is. But then to add injury to insult, I guess. I just can't. I don't know where we're going to get anything from, to be honest.
That's a really good way of putting it, that, Jess, though. To add injury to insult, not insult to
I mean,
injury. Like, you know, we've already been insulted, you know, and that's a great point, because, you know, we've said there, Laura just said we're worried about excuses, but, you know, we might go down and he might say, oh, we didn't have these 3 players for a big run-in, but it doesn't excuse 2 games, 2 wins in 16, and there you go. Like, we've been insulted. Now you're at the injuries.
Yeah, I think that the damage is already done. Like, we shouldn't be in a position where losing 2 players is like that's what we're going to blame it on, if that makes sense. But yeah, so one of the main talking points of the game was the equalizer. There was a sub. Matt Ritchie came on and then after the game, Bruce blamed Ritchie for not communicating, blamed the players for not communicating, and then Lascelles was interviewed and he said, well, I'm going to have to go in there and see what they're talking about because I don't know what's happened. And then there was the whole analysis by Jamie Carragher, which was absolutely brilliant, by the way. If you've not seen it, I'd recommend that you go back and watch it. Laura, I'll come to you because I know we've spoke about it previously. What's your thoughts on that? Because I know the word you used was shambles.
Yeah, completely.
That better myself. So
I think it was just a complete shambles. Like you say, Ritchie came on for Kraft, and Shelby was about to take the free kick. Now, any other team would have, in an empty stadium, may I add, when you can hear everything, we hear Bruce shouting, go on and concentrate all the time. So we can hear everything. How they didn't just hold Shelby to stop a second for Ritchie to give the instruction. However, just to contradict myself, why didn't Ritchie just sense the danger and just go, right, I'll just go right back for a second till that free kick, whatever. I think Bruce blamed the players. It is the coach's job at the end of the day to give the instructions. However, it's then the player's job on the pitch to relay those instructions, if you like. And I just think you can blame so many people, but at the end of the day, it was just all together, just a complete shambles. Yeah,
I do think it would be unfair to pin the blame on one person, because it was
everyone.
Everyone was at fault.
I'm going to blame it on one person, Jess. Don't make the substitution at that point.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
Don't make the substitution at that point when it's such a critical point of the game. And obviously we're on the attack. Don't make that change. Just wait till it goes out for a throw-in. Then players are back in the normal positions anyway, rather than your full defence up top. Like say centre backs going up for obviously trying to score a goal. Just wait. How many times do we see it from the likes of obviously not just ourselves, but other football teams, where the substitutes wait on the sidelines and the likes of the management team and the coaches say, hang on, we'll step back a second. Yeah. Then we'll see what happens on the next chance that we're getting to make this substitution. That stops all that right there for me.
Yeah, I think for me the most damning thing was watching Jamie Carragher's analysis was the bit which he pointed out when you can see, like, after it's all happening, everyone's starting to go back to their positions. Jones is shouting over to Murphy, and Murphy kind of like goes, me, as if like, I was meant to be like. That just shows the complete lack of communication from one end of the pitch to the other and on the sidelines. It was atrocious, really. But
you've got to remember, looking from the outside in, and you mentioned Carragher there, his analysis was perfect, absolutely perfect. But come on, we've tried to make a substitution where we're trying to move the player who's on the left wing, like as far up the field as you possibly can and trying to move him diagonal to the right wing back position.
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea at that point of the game? That's mental. That, and obviously looking back, and we're probably only picking this up because of the likes of Carragher's analysis on it, because in game we didn't see it. So player wise, God knows what we were thinking. But like, of course, I'm blaming the timing of the substitution, but the players have to take some form of responsibility as well. Like, they have to. And like Laura said there, Richie should have probably dropped back into that position. Instead, he's doing his usual thing where he's just pointing at points of the pitch. He's just literally pointing at things, and it's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Okay. The sub shouldn't have been made at that point. It was. Then what Richie should have done is run over to Shelby and went, hang on a second. If he's there in the middle point of the pitch, he can speak to both Hayden and he can speak to Murphy at the same time. It's ridiculous. It's just poor all around.
You've got to think as well, like from Shelby as well. If that was me, you'd be looking around to see what's going on. You'd see that you'd see that Richie wasn't where he was supposed to be, and that people were still moving about. And if that was me personally, I would be like, right, I'll wait a second. Like, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows what was going through anyone's mind at that point.
Just to play devil's advocate as well, I never know if I'm using that saying right, but it sounds good.
It means that you're going to defend Bruce by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Oh, look, he's my special boy. No, I always like an opportunity to pile in on him, but totally agree with what you were saying, Chris. But even with what happened, you watch that clip back, like, because Jamie Carragher shows it in super slow motion, and Ruben Neves takes off, and Willock sort of doesn't track him that with much vigour. And then Hayden, I know he's looking around to see where Traore is, but he sort of, when that cross comes in, I feel like he could have tried to defend that ball a bit better. Obviously, that ball goes in the back of the net, and you know, we all said in the group as well, I don't know if we're going to come on to this, but I was saying when the whole Darlow Dubravka thing, I was thinking, I can't wait. Dubravka's going to make a mistake in his first game back, isn't he? And it wasn't really a mistake. It was just a save that we expected him to make. So I'm just saying, even with this debacle, I totally agree with the own organisation. I feel like the goal was still avoidable, personally.
Yeah.
I think before we move on, Jess, as well, we've got to remember this isn't the first time this has happened with the likes of organisation on the field. If you look back at the whole Jetro Williams thing, when we conceded against Arsenal, was it Arsenal that we're playing?
Yeah, first game of the season last season.
First game. That was all over the shop. And there's another one, Matty, you will know this because you're an absolute encyclopedia, your knowledge.
Too much pressure.
There was one game this season where Hayden had to run to the dugout to try and find out what was happening in regards to formation.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
There's one point where he ran over and he's literally at the point where, tell us what's happening here.
No, I know. I don't remember which game it was, but I know exactly what you mean. But that do you not think that's been the case for the vast majority of the season? Not just when we're making substitutes, but I say vast majority of the season. I would say the vast majority of Steve Bruce's reign. No, there's never looked like there's been a plan. Like most of the time, sometimes it looks like they've never even met the players. Like the communication between them, like quite a lot of the time, is really, really poor. So. And I think that just highlighted it. But let's leave that there because I can see we'll get a little bit angry and red. On Sunday, the really heartbreaking news broke that Glenn Roeder had passed away. Glenn captained the club in the 80s. He made 219 appearances from 1983 to 1989. There were 72 games as a manager with a 45% win. And to go on top of that, he was just a really, really lovely man. So we wanted to pay a little tribute to him. So as ever, myself and Laura went out to Twitter and were asked for your favourite memories of Glenn Roeder, and the response, which I kind of expected, was absolutely overwhelming. Like, we've got so many, and I've got absolutely loads to get through. So I'm going to start now. I'll come to you a lot later and ask for yours, but we'll bear with us while I'm looking down because I'm reading. So we'll start with Doug of the corner. Lovely Doug. His favourite memory was his shuffle, which I'm not too familiar with. I think, sadly, the four of us are far too young to remember Glenn Roeder as a player. But he was, as Doug called him, a cultured defender. And he was famous for his shuffle, which I've seen mentioned loads of times since he passed, sadly. don't know if any of you are familiar. Like, have you seen any clips?
There's a clip. There's a clip. I'll try and find it on Twitter. We'll have to find it and retweet it. I'm playing for QPR, and he comes out from centre half, and the shuffle, it's sort of like almost a step over, but it isn't. And he just sends someone for a hot dog. They go that way, he goes the other way, and he just goes on this absolute swashbuckling run, plays a 1-2, and puts across the box for a striker to score. I didn't realise that he was that type of player, to be honest. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see. We'll have to retweet that if people haven't seen it.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, obviously, but I just YouTubed it as well. And I think it was Doug or Doug's friend, like, compared it for us to remember as like what Shaw kind of does. And it was not as good, I would say, but similar to like bursting in the middle of the pitch. It was nice to watch.
Yeah. We had Emil replied, and his memory was when at the end of the 2005-2006 season, when Shearer was injured, he joined him in the dugout in a suit, and it was like that was kind of Shearer's first taste of management almost. And I'm not sure what game it was. I don't know if any of you know which game it was.
West Brom, I think.
And we scored, and Shearer celebrated, and Emil said that Roeder was just like looking over at him, absolutely buzzing for Shearer. And that was his favourite. Again, I'm going to apologise because I don't know how to pronounce your name, and I'm really sorry. I don't know if it's Shevers or Shivers. I don't know. I'm really sorry.
We need to find that out, don't we?
Yeah. Twice that I've done that now, and I'm so sorry. But his favourite memory, which is also mine, was the derby. The when we went 1-0 down, we won 4-1, the derby. And he also pointed out that for being a man who isn't from the area, which apparently we don't like if you're not from the area, he just lived and cared for the club, which I think was really, really clear. He just had like a passion about him. I don't know, and he was lovely. Which brings us on really nicely to Chris Park, who described him as a dignified bloke, which again I thought was just really nice. Quite a lot of the things that we did have in are more about his personality. Like, I mean, he's still, like I say, there was a 45% win percentage, which we haven't seen for some time. But there's a lot of like things about his personality and what he was as a person, rather than a footballer or a manager, which I think just it says a lot about the man. Daryl's favourite memory was that he signed Antoine Sibierski. There we go. There's the comment on the screen. Just coming up now. Yeah, Daryl's was that he signed Antoine Sibierski. You know what? So that'll be when, like 2006.
Yeah.
So there's not really much I can remember from Sibierski. So I don't know if any of you. But I remember him being like.
Matty's itching to go here. Look at him.
I tell you what. I don't know if anyone wants to touch on Sibierski. Maybe Matty.
Yeah, oh man, I'd love to touch Sibierski. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was just one of those signings where, like, I remember in the good old days, I didn't really know Twitter or anything. I used to just check like the official site in NUFC.com for like anything that was going on with signings. And I remember us signing him on the last day of the transfer window on a free, I think, from Man City. And like me dad being like, oh, reeks of a panic signing that. And I thought the same, to be honest. But we were in the early knock-ins of the UEFA Cup that year, and I think he scored on his debut. And then he just proceeded to just be our like sort of European striker who scored a few goals in Europe and scored against Celta Vigo. I remember him scoring against Reading in the Premier League. I remember him scoring a very important goal against Portsmouth in a 1-0 win as well. So like he was just this striker who we didn't have high expectations of, but then he ended up going to score a good few goals as well. So yeah, I didn't mind Antoine Sibierski. Yeah,
well that was Daryl's favourite memory, which I thought was a good one. Simon Wilson, his favourite was to do with the 4-1, but it wasn't actually the game. It was his interview after. This reply came in quite late, so I've not actually had a chance to look at it. I don't know. Can any of you remember the interview?
I tried to find it and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Oh no! See,
I might be wrong, but I think in the interview, he goes on to start talking about Newcastle United fans, and basically saying that what this means to us in regards to a football team in the region. He's been very supportive of Newcastle fans, and he said great comments about every single club that he's ever played for, managed and coached, things like that. But he always had a soft spot for Newcastle United fans, and basically what a lot of people say that it's a step beyond everyone else and every other football club when it comes down to like the passion and stuff like that. And he just got it, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's a good way. That ties in quite nicely. GEORDIE Ridley, again, about the 4-1. GEORDIE Ridley got in touch, and his favourite was after the derby, he celebrated with the fans. Like, he actually went, which I don't know if you were meant to do, because I think the fans were kind of being held back at that point, but he actually went down and like celebrated with them, which I thought was absolutely lovely. We had Ted Ince said that, actually, we had two people say this one. So we had Ted Ince and we had KDNH95 was Krull's debut when the game against Palmer, we gave Tim Krull his debut, which we mentioned this game a couple of weeks ago when we did our great debut debate as well. So if it wasn't for Glenn Roeder, then we wouldn't have had the content for that bit the other week. Honestly, I'm really sorry, but there's so many to get through. We had Mike Focus said when Obafemi Martins was introduced, he was like going around with a scarf above his head, which again is not something that I remember, but that was his favourite. David Dunn said that he had a genuine love of the club. And then these next ones are a few more like personal ones, which I really, really enjoyed. We had Glenn and Gaza did a soccer school in Chesley Street, and they stayed to chat to the fans. And he's now 50 and he hasn't forgot it, which I thought was absolutely lovely. There was another one where they went to like a football camp. This was from Tone 1892. And he spoke to them all. He played five-a-side with them, basically just made time for everyone. Alex Wilson said that he rescued the club from the shambles that a certain Sky Sports pundit left the club in. And Mick Lister, this was my absolute favourite one. Mick Lister's was, he bought us a pint in the players' lounge because he overheard us call Albert Craig a tosser.
Amazing.
I thought it was brilliant. Laura, I'm going to come to you next. What is your favourite memory of Glenn Roeder?
Well, I wasn't too young in any sense, but I don't have any massive memories of that season or anything. I had to do quite a lot of research, and I was looking, and he had, like you said before, about his 45% win rate. Like, he won a lot of games when he took over. And when I wrote down the ones he only lost against Man U, Liverpool, Chelsea, Charlton. I think that's a massive achievement coming in, especially when, I don't know if this is true, because it's off Wikipedia, but he didn't have his coach badges or something. He had to do them as well, like when he got the job. But
become the manager, yeah.
But he was at the academy or something, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. But my memory isn't exactly my memory, but I went out with my mum's friend because he lived in his street when he was a player. So about 1988. And my mum's friend, Peter, he would always go around every week with Beardsley and Gaza, and they'd go fishing and they'd go to town and they'd just like hang around together. But his point was, if Newcastle got beat, he would stay well clear, because the passion he had and the determination to win, if they lost, that he knew just not to go to his house because he was in such a bad mood. And I thought it was quite relevant to come like to last week when we saw a certain manager laughing and joking when he got beat, and just the difference. And so that was not my personal memory, but just a memory that I thought was quite nice.
Yeah, we've had a few people comment in now saying that he gave Andy Carroll his debut as well, which I hadn't actually realised.
I think he gave quite a few of the young players, I think, because he had I don't know about now because we've got quite a few injuries now, but I think it was the worst injury season in his second season, and there was so many players injured, and so he gave Matty Patterson, David Edgar, Andy Carroll, all those like quite I don't know if it was their debuts. I know he gave Andy Carroll his debut, so I think he gave a lot of chances because he knew the young players from being in the youth academy, and I think he was well respected. And I seen Andy Carroll's interview the other day on Twitter, and he spoke very highly of him.
Yeah, it would be nice to take a leaf out of the book now and play some of the young ones now when we've got a bit of an injury crisis, but see how that goes. Matty, I'll come to you now. What is your favourite memory, story, whatever you like, about Glenn Roeder?
Well, there's a few, because I mean, he didn't leave not in the best of lights, but I think we realised that he wasn't like going to take us wherever we wanted. We ended up making the decision to bring Sam Allardyce in, and the rest of his history. But it's just so nice to be able to look back and have someone like Glenn Roeder have so many good memories, like I said, for us as a manager. That run he went on, I think we played like 15 games and only lost 3 after when he came in at the end of that season after Souness left. But for me, the memories, that Palermo game, the 1-0, giving Krull the debut. Andy Carroll came on at the end. Even Albert Luque scored. And there's that picture at the end of him, just got his arm around Tim Krull, like just giving him, like just making, I bet he made Tim Krull feel like 10 feet tall at the end of that game. But there's one for me, it's not really a Roeder, but it is a Roeder memory, but she was testimonial. She was just about to come on to take that penalty, the orchestrated penalty, and he steps forward and he sort of steps, the camera angle's great if you look online, and like Roeder's in the background, you can see Roeder sort of just saying something to him and like just smiling, and it's just a really nice image. It's Glenn Roeder, Alan Shearer. She was about to come on to take this penalty, and it was just, that's one that'll always stick in my head. Yeah,
I think like what we've just said there, what Laura's just said about him giving like the young players the debut, like I touched on earlier, he also gave Shearer his first kind of hint as management. Like obviously he wasn't manager as such, but he was injured, and like we said, he was in the dugout with his suit on. So we're gonna also like give him credit for that as well, I guess. But yeah, there's just absolutely loads. Chris, we'll finish off with you. What's your favourite memory, story, whatever you like, about Glenn Roeder?
I don't necessarily have a memory, but I think everything that's been touched on what we've just been seeing in the comments that came in are perfect. Roeder didn't have such a long managerial career here, and I think he goes under the radar a lot of the time as manager of this football club. There'll be a lot of younger fans who didn't even realise who he was, didn't even realise that he used to play for. He was captain of the club. Yeah. And as Newcastle fans would get a lot of crap from the likes of the press, saying that all Newcastle fans want a manager from their own region, that they'll only ever support the likes of GEORDIEs and things like that. And it's far from the truth. And Glenn Roeder is a perfect example of that. Obviously, like I've said, he was captain of the club. And I just hope now that Glenn knew how appreciated he was up here. And I hope his family realised how appreciated he was, because he was involved in a lot of big moments at this football club, and like somebody in that sent a comment in there that Souness literally destroyed that team, which was there, and Roeder had to pick up the pieces, and he did a fine job of it, a very fine job of it. And I think when he took over, we're relegation fodder. We'll look destined to be relegated, and I think we're finished in the top 8. I think we might be in 7th that we're finished. Had a great finishing position, and like I said, I just hope that he realised like how much he is appreciated up here. And I just wish the club were more connected to the likes of ex-players and ex-managers, because when was the last time he was here? When was the last time he was put on a pedestal for the fans to appreciate him? It must have been a long time ago. And that's what hurts me the most, that he should have been given a lot more respect and a lot more credit from the club. Like I said, the fan base loved him and adored him. But yeah, I just hope he realised how much he was respected up here.
Yeah, I don't think that's I think it's quite sad that it's taken something like in passing away for the conversation to start. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think that's like the fault of the fans, because like we say, I think it's quite clear that everyone adored him, and he was just a really really lovely man. And again, like you've just said there, Chris, I hope it does kind of put to bed this whole thing that apparently we hate people who aren't GEORDIEs. I don't understand where that comes from. Like, look at the man who's in charge of the team right now. He's not exactly we're not exactly his biggest fan, and then you look at the reaction that we've had to Glenn Roeder's death, and like the contrast between the two is just absolutely unbelievable. So I really do hope that it kind of dispels the myth almost that we don't.
I think what obviously Sir Bobby Robson, his plaudits are through the roof. He's known as a gentleman, but you've got to put Roeder in regards to personality wise in the same category as Sir Bobby Robson. He was a very well respected coach and a man, not just in the football world, but just as a person. And it's showed evidence right now that how much Nigel Pearson put some tweets out the other day, and honestly, that was enough to bring a tear to your eye. Those comments that he put out there. So he was respected across the footballing world. Yeah,
he was. It was, and it's a very sad loss, and a one that sadly we've lost him far too soon as well. But yes. Let's have a look at the week ahead, which...
It's getting happier then, isn't it?
Oh, God, when I said that, I just felt my bloody shoulders drop. Just like, oh, God, do I have to? Sunday, 12 o'clock, I
tell you what, lighten the mood, Jess, right? I kind of stopped looking at that thing over your left shoulder and thinking it's like a logo for B&M's. I keep thinking it's like some sort of like poster you stole from B&M.
Well, I can assure you it's not. That's getting taken down as soon as we come up here.
It looks like a sale poster. It's the same colour as a B&M.
That was a gift.
What is it?
Magical Mystery Tour.
Magical Mystery Tour.
Oh, it doesn't look like B&M when it's closer, but from Laura knows what I'm talking about.
I can tell you now that won't be going on the wall when I'm in. Yeah, me.
Sorry, whoever bought you that gift.
It's lightened the mood for everyone else, but I'm now questioning my entire decor. Sunday we'll go to the Hawthorns. 12 o'clock kick-off. We'll play West Brom, who we're now deep in a relegation battle with. Obviously, we're going in without Wilson. We're going in without Alan St. Maximin. We're going in without Miggy. Laura, how are you feeling about the game? Because I am dreading it.
No, same. Not looking forward to it at all. I think Sam Allardyce, written in the stars, he'll win. I can't say. I don't even know what the team will be. I don't even know what setup will go. I'm baffled by it. So I think the only thing I would say, and we've never mentioned him for a while, but I would like Dummett back in.
He's got to get his weekly mention on ExtraTyne. We'll have to
it's been ages.
Yeah, we weren't on last week, so we'll have to mention it. Mm-hmm. Matty, what we've just been saying about Glenn Roeder, he gave, when we were having an injury crisis, he gave the young'uns a chance, like Tim Krul, like Carroll, etc. Do you think that this is the perfect chance to be playing the likes of Anderson?
If he's fit. I said this. I was screaming from the hilltops for him, and then Darryl extinguished them flames by saying he had a knock. But I'm not too sure. If he isn't, then should definitely play him. Yeah. You need that hunger. You need that.
Rich Oliver, can you get out of the chat?
Steve Bruce chat. But yeah, definitely a good opportunity. However, I think Murphy and Fraser don't terrify me starting. I think Fraser's a good player. I think he showed the quality he can put in the box for the Lascelles goal against Wolves. Murphy, hit and miss, really good in spells, but he played a part in forging a chance against Wolves. It's really who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. And Joe Linton's just not, my cup of tea, not many people's cups of tea. Like we've just seen that comment there, a Murphy, Gale, Fraser from three. Doesn't make me feel it does scream a little bit championship, I won't lie, but I
haven't got much of a choice, though, to be honest. So I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, and I think it could possibly cause West Brom problems if we put in a composed, organised performances, which was words aren't synonymous when you're Newcastle United. But hopefully, and I totally agree. By the way, put Paul Dummett at left back. Yeah. I think Lucas needs to come up the team for now
and play Gale not on the right as well. So
yes, just put him flanked by Fraser and Murphy. That would be my choice.
yeah.
Daryl's just said that he gathered he's trained this week. I'm assuming you're talking about
Daryl the insider.
Our in the know, our very own ITK has told us that he's trained this week, Matty, so it's okay.
Get him started.
So
Don't put that out there. You know for fine well this is going to be clipped when he's not even like featuring at all in the next 4 months.
Gallowgateshots don't have a clue. Chris's YouTube channel doesn't have a clue.
Well, to be fair, if he's wrong, he's about as in the know as the rest of them. So, you know.
Exactly.
Chris, especially given the results that we've seen tonight, Burnley drew with Leicester, Sheffield United beat Villa. How are you feeling about the game? Because and that's not even thinking about the 2 games that are happening tomorrow. I mean, do you think the pressure is really, really on for us to get a result on Sunday now?
Oh, we're fucked. Like absolutely fucked. Come on, we're knackered before we got these 2 injuries to Saint and Almiron. So where does that leave us now? You look at the top teams. If they miss 1 or 2 players through injury, they've got somebody else to fill in. Just do almost as good of a job. We don't. Far from it. If your replacement is Saint Maximum, it is going to be Fraser, who hasn't hit the ground running. Let's be honest, he's barely featured. It doesn't fill you full of confidence. And Almiron, his confidence has been sky high recently. So to lose him, it's that's a much of a miss to me as what Wilson is, taking Almiron out of that team. I've said for God knows how long now, Almiron's first name on the team sheet has to be for me, and that's ahead of Wilson. But missing him is huge. I don't think we really realise how massive it is. But I were fucked.
Yeah, I think the thing with losing Miggy for me is like losing the work rate and the pace, because there's no one else in, I would probably say, the squad who has got what he's been injected into the side in the last however many weeks. So for me, I would argue that's the big. Yeah, Mark's just said exactly what he's took the words out of my mouth. Miggy's going to be the biggest miss for me. I mean, obviously, like the goal on Saturday obviously we've lost Alan as well, but like with St. Maximin, he didn't give up, and obviously that's going to be a miss. But like we say, I think Miggy, for me, Miggy's the biggest miss. I don't have any of you done the predictor thing on?
No, I've seen that. I didn't know what it was.
So
I tend to avoid it every season because it just fills it full of dread even more.
It makes me more sad.
What are you gonna do? Guess
the result. All the results.
Laura,
for the rest of the
it's an online predictor. So guess what you've got to do.
I didn't hear that bit.
You have to do it for every game, but not every game in the league, but every game of it, like the team who's in the relegation. Yeah. So I did it last week, I think it was, and we were staying up. And I wasn't even being like hopeful, went with me predictions. But I think if I did it again, I think we would probably be.
So did you do that before the injuries?
Yes.
So if you do it now, could you see us picking any points at whatsoever?
You know what? I honestly don't think I can.
But are you just guessing though? Because I bet and do Super 6 every week and I'm shit, so it would be pointless anyway.
You might just don't bother, Laura. Just don't.
Okay, I'm not gonna.
Just don't bother. But honestly, losing them 3. I mean, obviously, we'd already lost Wilson. And you know another thing, and I keep jumping from thingy to thingy here, but another thing is the like provisional dates that they've given for a return. If the injuries are what they say they are, surely they're not going to be back in like the first week of April or whatever.
We'll miss a game, don't we? It's 3 games. It's going to be then there's an international break, which leads into March.
Beginning of April though. And I don't think, is that not rushing them back, which is probably going to do even more damage?
Yeah, I've had 6 weeks, so I mean, it could be 2 weeks into April. We don't know, but it wouldn't be surprising if Steve Bruce does rush someone back.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Yes.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly. Or Darryl said here. Darryl's done the predictor, and as we know, Darryl's in the know. When Darryl did.
Oh God.
We finished level with Fulham on 32 points and we went down on goal difference.
I'd rather go down on points. I'd rather go down on points than on goal difference. I'd do my head in because the amount of times everyone's been banging a drum about how we didn't concede this many goals under Rafa, and people were just telling us to shut up. Honestly, man.
Imagine.
We've got the worst goal difference at the minute, haven't we?
Yeah, by a mile.
It's not pissing anybody else off that we're in a position now where we're not in the relegation zone. It's not pissing you off slightly that we're hoping that other teams lose rather than us picking the points up. It's really annoying us because we should be far from this. We're in the first week of we're in March, April. Sorry, no, where were?
March.
First week of March.
Something to do with daffodils, Chris. With something to do with daffodils.
Do you know what Steve is? Do you know what it is? He's not even on the podcast and he's ruining it for us. So Mark has just said something about March. And that my head's just gone. Absolutely gone.
It's March. It's the 3rd of March.
I know Mark ruined it for us again.
Was it 2 weeks ago we had in our group chat about looking at other teams, and was it Deck? I was like, look, I'm not looking at other teams, and I agreed with Deck. I was like, nah, I don't like doing that. There's too many games. It's up to us. 2 weeks later, I'm looking at every game. Right?
What you've just said there, right? It was Decker in our group chat who was like, I'm not looking at other teams. And then it was Decker who put in the group chat the other night.
It's massive.
A screenshot of tomorrow's night's fixture saying, we're not even playing on Thursday night. Absolutely massive.
This is what Decker does. He winds himself up. So anybody that listens to the podcast, he'll wind himself up. So if you ask Decker a comment, he'll argue with himself. And he does it in the WhatsApp group. So he says he's not interested in other teams. 2 seconds later, he's more interested in them than us.
I'm dreading it.
But I think it's because we've got no confidence in us in all of our. Well, we haven't done the predictions yet, but I can't say any of we're like expecting anything. So because we've got no confidence in us picking up points, we're so relying on the other teams to not pick up points.
Yeah. But then the thing is, I was like, so tomorrow night we've got Fulham against Spurs and we've got West Brom, who we face on Sunday, against Everton. In my head, that's a dead cert that Fulham and West Brom, well, you'd think Fulham and West Brom are going to get beat. But it was also a dead cert for me tonight that Sheffield United were going to get tanked off Villa. And
like I said before, I had to change all my notes because I had all the points written down because I was like, right, well, they won't win. Sheffield United won't win. Burnley won't get anything. So I've had to quickly scribble them out because they did. So, I mean, the only thing that's a dead cert for me now is that we're not going to get any points. And everyone else is. Like, it's absolutely typical that, I mean, we've never been, I don't think we've been in form at all this season, but it's just typical that when it's getting to the crucial part, everyone else seems to be suddenly out of absolutely nowhere picking up these points. Like we say, Sheffield United beat Villa tonight. Villa, who have been decent this season. I mean, I've got Martinez as my goalkeeper on fantasy team, and he's been absolutely incredible. So, I mean, let's get some predictions for Sunday. Laura, I'll come to you first. What are you saying for Sunday? 1-0 West Brom.
1-0 West Brom. Matty?
1-1. We're going to go 1-0 down. We're going to equalise. Steve Bruce is going to be pot buzzing.
So you think we'll go down and we'll come back?
Yeah, and it'll be awful. And the equaliser won't be good. And Steve Bruce will be like,
who's going to score it?
I don't know, probably West Brom player or something.
You know what the thing is, I think that's not the worst thing that can happen, but I think us going down and then coming back to get a point, he would see that as a victory.
Like, I'm saying, like, Bruce would be like buzzing and be like, show character and all that. And, we're disappointed not to get wins, and I can see it.
Yeah, I've said it before, but Bruce's aim is just to not get hammered. If he gets like a 1-0 defeat or a 2-0, he'll see positives. But so that's all he hopes for. Yeah,
I agree. Chris, what are you thinking for Sunday dinner time?
For food.
We'll get on the debate about Sunday dinners again soon, Matty. I can't. We struggle to score goals before these three players got injured. can't see us scoring. And obviously, Sam Allardyce has got a personal vendetta against Newcastle United, so he would love nothing more than bringing us even further into this relegation battle. So I can't. I'd probably draw at best, but that's me being very, very optimistic. I can honestly see those going to town on us. I really can, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're on the end of a 2-0 defeat.
Yeah, I think we'll get beat. I can't see us. And I think if it was a draw, it would be a 0-0 because I honestly cannot see. Well, I hope I'm proven wrong, but I honestly cannot see where a goal is going to come from. There's a few predictions in the comments. We've got a 1-1, 2-0 West Brom.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? We're at this point in the season now.
In the comments, because I can't see them.
There's been a couple. There's been a couple.
Alexander Bagnall, 2-0 Toon.
Yeah, he's a Man United fan though.
Oh.
So yeah, he it's not going to happen. I mean, we're not going to win. But
it's worrying though, isn't it? It's massively worrying that was Satya, and even if these key players had been fit, I still probably wouldn't have predicted a win. I really wouldn't.
You know what? I'm exactly the same because, like we say, we've lost Wilson, who was like, I mean, that there was that percentage about his involvement in our goals, which was just ridiculous. Like he was involved in it was like 99.99999% of our goals or whatever. And then obviously we've lost Alan, we've lost Miggy.
I love how you call them Alan.
Alan, we've lost Alan, and we've lost Miggy. But even if we had them, like, were we scoring goals when we had them? Do you know what I mean? Like, I honestly, I just can't see where we're gonna get a goal from. So I think if I was being optimistic, I'm gonna say 0-0, and that is probably the most depressing thing I've ever said. To say that my optimism is to have a 0-0 draw with Sam Allardyce's West Brom. I mean,
who are in the bottom three as well.
Yeah.
And none of what have took us to win.
That's where it's come to though.
Absolutely fluked to win again last weekend. Absolutely fluked it.
Bestie 1-0 Ryan Fraser to score, which would just that would be nice, wouldn't it? Just completely contradict everything that we
do you know what it is, right? I don't know where these lads' confidence is coming from, because every single week when we do the podcast, it's defeats left, right, and centre when predicting lineups, and apparently tonight in the comments we're winning games when we haven't got the three best players. I don't know what's happening.
I think everyone's
in the make out with.
We've got Gary Cumpson, my namesake, my dad, 2-0 to the Gravy Guzzler.
Is that your dad?
I don't know which Gravy Guzzler he's talking about because we've got one on either side there. So that could be either. But yeah, it doesn't look like any of us are filled with hope really. But we'll be back next week to see just how badly we did get beat by. Massive thank you to Chris and to Matty for joining us, and to the rest of the team for letting us borrow them for one night only. It's been an absolute pleasure. To my lovely co-host Laura, thank you as ever. Okay. I hope how did you feel? Our first live one. How do you think it went?
I was shitting it at first, but you're fine now.
It's not too bad once you get into it.
Right.
Don't you?
I don't know why I was so bothered, because Chris doesn't edit it, so it's fine. Whatever we say normally is on. I don't know.
Was that a dig? I'm not sure if that was a dig or not.
You know, was it?
Chris, but yes, we will be back next week to discuss whatever goes on Sunday. Hopefully it's good, and hopefully the 2-0 to the Gravy Guzzler is to our Gravy Guzzler. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel, and we will see you next week.
Do you know how